Okay, I started recording.
Yep. So I'm not objected to for you to record with your watch, but if it doesn't sound good, I'm gonna do the same thing that ATP did in the last episode where Casey's recording failed, and so Marco had to use the recording from Skype.
Oh,
He really he shamed him in the beginning of the podcast. So yeah.
yeah, he must have sounded terrible.
Yep. And we did not clap, so let's do it now. 3, 2, 1. Nice.
Perfetto. Okay, so now just send me the pages link so that I can open it and see.
Yep.
So we know what we're talking about.
I've got the link, and let me send it through. The interwebs.
This is fun, man. That we have this nice setup now.
The interweb consists of many tubes that information may travel through, as it was in the Middle Ages. Could have worked. Check it out. We didn't have any password set on that file, right?
No, I don't think so. Well, actually, the one that's locked I have over here. It's the one that's unlocked. Oh wait, I just got a text. Open. Oh, I forgot how to put all my stuff on silent.
Oh, let me do the same. Phone is here. Silent.
Retrieving. Opening. It's open.
Yeah. Open sesame. Open sesame.
Open
sesame seeds.
Finder.
Yes.
Open Finder. Yes. Go to iCloud.
Sounds good.
Pages. Sure, we can even mention the fact that we got the pop filters.
Yeah, so we should have greatly improved audio, and now that we are closer, you could hear the ASMR.
We're talking very close to the mics.
Yes, you could hear me breathing.
Like super close.
You know, it's like if you could hear me breathing.
Like with the Beats by Dre.
Beats audio. All right. Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good. Man, you could hear this audio so crispy. Say something.
I know, it's like we're so close to the mics, you can hear us breathing.
Beats audio. Yeah, I'm speaking in your ear. Yes, you, Kiara. I'm speaking in your ear. Do you hear me? I am your conscience.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Hey, last Sunday we went with Horsepower to this cafe breakfast place called Coco and Co.
Oh yeah, I heard of it.
On the 440.
Yes.
And what we did is we ordered breakfast before recording the music. And one thing I noticed is, you know, those all those waiters, when they bring you breakfast, they ask before taking your order, they ask, do you want to drink anything? And most people will just say, I want to drink water and or coffee. And to the exception of Matthew, which will always ask for iced tea, that's what most people would do. And something that puzzles me is that then they'll bring you the cream and the sugar and everything. And so everyone will take their time while browsing the menu, the food menu. What they'll do is they'll make the coffee to their liking. So they'll put those little cups of cream and coffee cream, and then half and half and whatever you call those in it, and then they'll taste it and then they'll adjust, right?
Yes.
Because the cup sizes are non-standard.
No, because everywhere you go, it could be different.
So you don't know what the proportion exactly, and even the sugar quantities and the cream quantities sometimes differ from brand to brand in the amounts. So there's this little in between time where everyone is testing and sipping and oh, okay, I got, and then you get it right. And one thing I've observed that puzzles me and just I find myself wanting to scold the waiters is they come and ask you, do you want a top off? Dude,
what do you mean by top off?
When they see that you drank a third or a quarter of the coffee, they'll ask you if you want me to add on top. And like
Oh,
have some common sense, dude. Like not just in one place. Like it's a common thread across the breakfast industry colluding against us having coffee that we've adjusted to our taste. They always come and tell you, "Oh, do you want to top off?" If you top it off, it will dilute the cream and the sugar that you already put in. So then you have to readjust it. But then you cannot readjust it because you cannot just put like half a little cup thing and like a third of the sugar because your food is gonna go cold. So
exactly.
that's
And plus, you adjusted it perfectly to your liking, and then it won't be to your liking anymore
like
because you won't have it perfectly.
what would bother them of just like leaving the pitcher of like coffee on the table,
Coffee's too expensive, bro.
dude? It's like pennies on the
I'm
dollar.
joking. I'm joking. I'm
It's
joking. It's like the
no,
cheapest thing.
I agree. Like good coffee is expensive, but like those breakfast diners,
It's
they
not good
they
coffee.
they don't have the best stuff. Like if you're lucky, you could get Van Hout or Lavazza, that Italian brand.
Yeah, if you go
Like
to like a good breakfast place.
yeah, or one that has like pretty high prices for breakfast.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the situation with our coffee and us going to coffee diners and suffering through the impertinence. Like it seems like these people never drank coffee in the diner or in a breakfast place before. Did you ever go to a coffee place? Also, another thing that's like annoys the living hell out of me. And you know what? Since I'm already complaining, I'm just going to continue. Might as well. It
Yeah,
reminds me
it's
of
true.
what we did on
Yeah.
Sunday about complaining. A thankless generation. Yeah. Since I'm complaining, when the waiter asks you to bring you some toast, and then he said, "Do you want them buttered?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure. Multigrain, whole wheat grain, and then buttered." So they'll bring you two toasts, and usually they'll slice it in half, so it'll make a triangle. But so some places, what they'll do is they'll the butter instead of buttering the
Okay.
insides and then putting the two sides that are buttered together, they'll put a buttered side up and then put another one on top. So basically, the butter from the bottom
Yeah, I
bun is transferring
understand.
to the top one, and
So
since I'm
like the top and the bottom of the one on the top is like both buttered in a way.
like monsters.
But also like when they want to top off your coffee, how much coffee do they expect you to drink?
I could drink a lot of coffee. I don't go to breakfast.
I mean, but all in one sitting.
Oh, dude, their coffee's diluted, so you're not going to get any like
It's true.
slight
It's
burn.
drip. It's drip coffee.
Drip
It's not
coffee.
like espresso.
Yeah, and I bet they stretch the drip. Like drip it for like 10 more minutes. Might as well get our money's worth.
Dilute it as much as possible.
Yeah. So basically, all the percolated stuff is diluted water.
Yeah, basically.
Diluted water coffee, watered down coffee. So, Daniel, I understand that you've did a few changes lately in your setup.
I have. My setup has changed a ton.
All right. So you have betrayed your beloved iPad and have forsaken it for another. And tell us what treacherous thing you've done.
So yes, the iPad is no longer mine. I traded it with my sister and I purchased a Mac.
Ooh, lucky is she. Yep.
I purchased a Mac and it's the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Look at you. All the Apple ecosystem,
Well, I dropped one product for another, right? So
Yeah, true.
just the Mac is so much more powerful and so much more productive.
And now you've
I don't
had
know.
it for what? Like about a week?
Yeah, it's a week actually.
Today is a week.
On Wednesday.
Today.
Yeah, today a week. Today
is a week. So the funny thing is, you were trying to hide it from me that you were going to purchase it, but I found out accidentally by just. Oh, actually, it's a good story. Let me just let me tell it from the beginning.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny story.
So, where I work at my new job, life insurance company, and right in front of the tower where I work at, there is this mall that that has one of the only Apple stores in our in our island, basically. We're on the island on top of Montreal.
It's the only one in Laval, in the city.
And and basically the store uh, is located within the mall, and it's a very nice mall. And I decided to go on a walk in my lunch break because I was been sitting for like 5 hours, and you know, I said, let me just like change pace, take a walk, do some physical activity, close my rings and activity rings on my watch. And I just so happened, I was thinking, man, like, oh, Daniel said he was gonna buy sometime soon. Mac, he said, what, Thursday?
Yeah, I had said I was gonna get on Thursday.
Thursday. And I said, okay. And then I told myself, that would be funny if I was going to see Daniel in the Apple Store. And I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen. But I entertained the thought. That's what counts in this. Crazy. And me walking through the mall, lo and behold, I see the silhouette that resembles Daniel, and I'm like, okay, no one looks like Daniel. That is clearly Daniel. Let me go surprise him. And you were shocked.
Bro, I didn't even know that your work was right next to the mall, so I was freaking out. I'm like, what?
Bro, you're following me. You spy.
Yeah, I'm a tracker. Yeah, I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was really funny.
But I could see like you were really happy with your purchase. You got a good spec on your
I was.
computer. You got like the tier up version of storage. Pretty good computer. You also told me that you had a pretty good battery life with it, right?
The battery life is actually phenomenal. I'm shocked by the battery life.
Yeah.
It's there was on Friday. Friday is my longest day of the week. I have class in the morning at 8:45, and then class in the evening. It starts at 6 and finishes at 8:15. So basically, it's about a 12-hour day at school.
And that's pretty
And
impressive.
I have about during the day 5 hours of class. Then in between the two classes, I have tutorials for like another 2 hours. And then in between that I'm not in class or in a tutorial, I'm studying. So the whole day I had about 10 hours of screen on time of usage. I came home that night and then used it for like another 2 hours at home. And when I put it to charge, it was at 15%. So I was shocked. Without a charge the whole day, only from in the morning.
Well, that's pretty good, you're getting solid usage time out of it, which is magnificent. And what more can you ask? If it keeps up that way, the less you have to charge it, the more the battery will last in the long run.
Exactly.
So that's pretty good in my opinion.
So I'm really happy with it, and I think it's a great upgrade from the end. There was just another little thing I wanted to add about the story of you showing up when I was buying my Mac.
Ooh.
Was that I was telling the employee at Apple, I was telling him that we had a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, I do it with this guy and whatever. And then like 2 minutes later, you walk in. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the guy I do the podcast with. It was so funny.
Yeah.
But the sad part is I didn't tell him the name, so he's not listening right now.
So long. It's okay.
It's sad. I only realized after. I'm like, I never told him the name of the podcast. Terrible marketing, Daniel. Terrible marketing.
And another change that happened, and that change is on both our sides, for improving the audio situation, as we might have alluded to in the top of the show. We are now using a different, same microphones, different setup. So instead of putting the microphones far away from us, we are putting them in closer. And we purchased these pop filters that reduce the amount of wind blowing on the microphone, hence reducing the annoying sounds of. Now, I blew really hard on this, but even with that, it was nothing compared to if I didn't have a pop filter on.
What it would have been before.
Yeah. And the other benefit, an ancillary benefit, if I could say, is that our voices are going to be much clearer this time, and quality is going to be better as another benefit. So that's pretty good. So keep pumping the quality of the podcast.
Yes, we're always working on our quality, our vocal quality. So there's another upgrade that you made recently, as in recently, I mean today.
As in like 2 hours ago.
Yes.
Like literally 2 hours ago. So maybe a month ago, I bought these headphones from this certain company, and which provided a great value for the price. And this company was these headphones are Sony branded. I've been like wearing them for 2 hours now. I am way over. How can I say this? I had expectations. These expectations were not even close to what these headphones delivered.
They were
My
blown out of the water.
Yeah, so like in comparison, my expectations were this like little Lego in comparison to a big like a 17-story building, you know. And so that was that for me right now. I'm like, I was like, wow, such quality, such good uh customizations within the application for the headphones, where you could
Yes.
modify the sound profiles, the sound cancellation profiles, the reverb, the reverb, the sound provenance, so I could hear from one side more than another if I choose to. If I could change the sound stage, incredible customizations, good quality, extremely comfortable. They are super light as well.
I have to say, for consumer headphones, Sony is one of the best.
Oh, yeah.
I have a pair of Sonys also. They're not as good as his, but I have a pair of Sonys also, and they have noise canceling also. And yeah, so this summer I went to Portugal and we were on the flight for 5.5 hours, and I was wearing them for that whole time. And I didn't even feel that they were on. Like, they were causing no pain whatsoever. Like, usually even like the in-ear headphones, like AirPods, like even though they're super light and you barely feel them, after like 2 hours of wearing them, you'll start to feel them and they'll start hurting. These, nothing after 5 hours. It's pretty impressive. And yours are even more comfortable than mine.
They have a working recipe. They follow it, and it leads to successful products. You know, they don't have to reinvent the wheel every single year. They have a concept that works. It makes the experience of flying way more enjoyable. So instead of having to crank up the volume to an excessive loudness
and damage your
you
hearing,
could just exactly. You could just put on these headphones at a comfortable volume and not come out of the airplane with a headache because you were listening to the music too loud to compensate for the plane noises. So it creates like this bubble around you, where in situations that you don't want too much noise, and we're going to talk about that later as well because of the Apple Watch. But yeah, it allows you to create an environment where the noise around you that may be detrimental to your hearing health, to your that may give you a headache. Some people are very sensitive to sound. Um, just putting these headphones on may help. I was watching this video about this kid in the Apple keynote that was wearing these Beat Studio headphones because it had sound cancellation capabilities, and would allow him to play music at the same time. And when he would run his marathons, he could focus because he has some kind of autism, debilitating autism. When listening to music and canceling out the world around him, he could run and focus on running instead of suffering through the social anxiety that comes from his autism. So there's like many applications that we could apply these headphones to. Like just like something we experience many times a week is going through the subway, the metro, as we say here in Montreal.
Yeah,
over 90 decibels.
It's that loud.
If you go in the old ones, it's over 90 decibels. If the fans are going full speed, like during summer, and when it's starting up, like accelerating, super loud. Sitting on the buses, the new hybrid STL buses, if you sit in the back right on top of the engine,
the electric motors, they have like a high pitched whine noise.
Yeah, exactly. The electric engines on their own, they're fine. It's when the gas engine kicks in and it's revving to compensate for the lack of power of those electric engines. That's when the problem comes. So having headphones like these, man, it's a game changer.
It is. No, it is. Like, even in the metro, you haven't worn them in the metro yet, obviously, because you just got them. But when you're listening to music or a podcast and you have the noise canceling on, it's crazy because you don't hear anybody around you. And it's just amazing because it just creates like this little bubble where it's almost as if you're by yourself, even though there are like hundreds of people right next to you. And it's a really nice feeling.
Now, I don't know.
It's a nice environment.
Yeah, I don't know how Sony deals with wind from wind sources and how it
It
cancels
sucks.
those out. It sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible. Well, at least on mine, and I've heard even from reviews on the on yours that because the mics are on top, it actually you hear it.
Yeah, that's in KBHD and in the airplane review.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but even mine, like sometimes I'm in the metro and there's wind coming from overhead, and I'll hear it.
All right. So basically, I just have to cover myself, change my direction in consequence, so the wind doesn't blow inside the microphones,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
fine. I did see there's a mode within the application for Subway, and since Subways are basically identically built all over the world, I bet that this mode within the application could compensate for the wind effect to some extent.
Really, there's a subway mode. I
Yep.
didn't see that. I have to check it out. Maybe it's could
So
be that it's only for your headphones.
maybe I don't. Well, you should check. You should check.
I should.
Um,
I should.
I didn't try it yet, so I cannot attest for its usefulness. But if it's worth trying, I guess.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yes.
With the Mac, when I bought the Mac, because I bought it during the student discount period at Apple, I got a pair of Beats Studios for free with
Oh,
the Mac.
all right.
Now these are $400 headphones in store plus taxes. So like if it comes out to like 450, 475, like if you would go and buy them at the store.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to resell them because I already have the Sonys, and I put them for 315 because they're still sealed. They still have the seal around them. It's the same thing as if a guy would go to the store and pick them up.
Yeah.
And they had like 6 visits and they're already below like the 200 tile in their category. So I was thinking, is it worth it to put them for 275 or somewhere around that range and sell them, or to just keep them at that point?
Yeah. Just wait. Um, you bought your headphones when you bought the headphones by proxy of buying a Mac, because of the education discount, right?
Exactly.
And when that education discount ends, um, and all the people that had these headphones but had no need for them and sold them, the prices will go back up. So, a thing you could try is wait till after the period. So maybe around Christmas, where people are buying up these headphones because they're a good deal. And instead of going into Apple and buying headphones for like $400 and giving them as a gift, you could buy them for 200, pick them up for a good price.
It's
And
true.
when
It's
all
true.
this stock is depleted, then you could, or maybe even at this time, you could put them for a good price that you're happy with, close to the Apple Store price. Like, one thing you got to
I
take into
was
account,
thinking around 300,
yeah,
but
maybe a bit more you can manage, but then you have to negotiate with people, and you have to maybe wait a bit more, because it's
yes.
a opportunity cost. The more
But
you
there's no rush
wait,
to sell, right?
yeah, the more you wait, the more chances you have to catch someone that will give you the price that you want. But if you're willing to negotiate with people and to lower your price, because since you got them for free, yeah. But at this point, selling them at a higher price, since you got them for free and they're still sealed, like, they're not gonna break, right? They're not
No,
broken. They're like perfect condition. They still have the warranty on them. They probably have an Apple Music card in it. It's already worth what Apple Music is $10 a month, or three.
that's like $30, or
Yeah,
is this six
there.
months?
Yeah, there's the.
3 months or 6?
I think it's three, but I'm not sure. We'll have to verify. So basically, you have 3 months of free. You have $33, $33, not the number 33, which are very
Yeah.
similar. we created a paradox.
Ooh.
Boom, 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 boom. Yep. Like, sell them at a price you're happy with. You recuperate the cost of purchase, and there you go.
An extra $300 off the Mac.
Yep. So,
Stoinks.
bonks. Yes.
Stonks.
Just buy Macs, sell the headphones, and return them.
I wish you could do that. I don't think they'll ask for the headphones back.
Put some broken ones
But-
in the box. And seal them with
That's it.
your own sealing machine, so they'll be none the wiser.
Nope. They'll think they're
Stonks.
brand new.
Stonks.
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 Next thing you know, like we get a call from Apple, stop encouraging people to try to steal from us.
Yep. And speaking about encouraging, Apple has encouraged us to buy the new iPhone 11s. And on that note, we should probably begin the show. Welcome to the Again and Again podcast. I'm Michael, joined here with my co-host Daniel. This is episode 11. 11? 12? 12.
12.
This is
12.
This is episode 12. Bloopers. So, hold on. Let me do a dad joke before I start. So like if some people said the event was boring, but I don't agree. On a scale of 1 to 10, I rate the new iPhone 11.
iPhone 11.
I got jokes.
Ooh.
Hey.
So yeah, about a week ago, forgot the exact date. I think it was September 21st.
That was actually 2 weeks ago.
No. Sorry, it was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
4 weeks.
Apple had a keynote.
They had a keynote
in which they released the new iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro, the iPad, and the Apple Watch Series 5. So we're going to start off with the new iPhones, and there's a lot of debate over these new iPhones with their camera system. Some people don't like it, some people do like it. I personally find that it looks nice and it looks clean and it looks very Apple-esque. But what do you think about the 3 cameras on the back?
Well, I'd like to talk
Of the
about the
Pro.
show in itself, like the presentation, not the products. This show was like very the highlights. You could probably tell that this show was not like the other ones. It was a different show. The dynamic was different. They had a lot of new people on the set, which was strange, and they dispensed with the usual updates that they do in the first part of the show, so under the pretext that they had a lot of stuff to present. And usually Apple keynote shows run for 2 hours, like on the dot. Like they start at 1 p.m., they finish at 3 on the dot. And Tim Cook walks on the stage, says hello everybody, welcome to the iPhone keynote. We're so glad to have you here. Basically, that's what happened. And what should have happened was Tim Cook jumping to announcements like Apple's green initiative, the new campus in Texas that they're building right now, updates on retail, updates on iOS adoption, stuff like that, But they didn't. I was like, that's strange. And he said like, oh, okay, we have a lot of stuff to cover, so let's get to it. So then I was like, oh, okay, so they have the iPhone and the Apple Watch and some other product of the product line they have to talk about. So they don't have much time, and they have to talk about each OS of the products to talk about on top of that. So I'm like,
and
okay.
now there are a lot of OSs.
Yeah. So they want to dispense with the pleasantries and little updates that don't mean much to consumers at the end of the day, and just get on to it with it. But what puzzled me at the end is that they finished the show when they had like what 30-20 minutes left.
Oh, really?
And so instead of having the complete 2 hours, it seems that the show was cut short, and that was weird. Maybe because some people speculated they had an announcement and then they dropped it last second because maybe the presentation didn't work. Like you gotta know, like for sure Apple tests even during the presentation the products, make sure that the presentation will go flawlessly. Like
For sure.
when Steve Jobs did the keynote for the first iPhone, he had a team of engineers in the back making sure everything is working flawlessly, and each person they had a phone for each part of the presentation. So whenever Steve Jobs wanted to show a certain feature, he would take a phone that had only that feature on it. So to reduce the chances of him getting a crash, because the software was not ready. Yep. And in that sense, the show was weird. But aside that, I found that the part where they were talking about Apple Watch saving lives. That was very emotional. Very good video in itself. People really appreciated the work on this video. People giving testimonies about how Apple Watch has changed their lives, saving their life, detecting maladies that they have. Like that's
Well, I
mark.
mean, in the end, that's the greatest thing that technology can do for you is save your life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it can help you in your productivity, can help you do calls, communicating with people worldwide. But if it's saving your life, I mean, then that's like the greatest gift that technology can give you.
Precisely. And uh, it's the best kind of marketing as well because it's kind of experiential, where it's not like some random guy in a white room with a British accent telling you should buy this product because it makes you feel different. It's not different. It's actual real people that send letters and emails to Apple because they really appreciate what the watch has done in their lives. And these people are testifying not because Apple like told them so, it's because they did it out of their own volition. They emailed Tim Cook like they sent him letters, postcards, whatever, um, addressing him, telling him, your product like actually did a difference in my life. And when people like see this, they're like, okay, wow. And not
Like that
only,
actually affected that person.
yeah, and like I don't know in what order they present their products, but I think the Apple Watch was the first one that they presented, and for them to present stuff like that is very unique because um you look at all the competitors of the smartwatch market, which is basically narrowed down to in Western countries, um Samsung watches,
Yeah, exactly. There's Apple
which
and
is which
Samsung.
is which is fine, which is fine. Nowhere near the market share. Fitbit, which is depending on which product line, it's not a very good watch, but it's functional enough.
But usually Fitbits are more oriented around like actual fitness watches that don't have smart capabilities. They do have one that has smart capabilities, but their main sellers aren't the ones that have smart capabilities.
Even the fitness stuff, it's limited to counting the amount of steps you do per day, the amount of stories and flights that of like flight of stairs that you climbed, and your heart rate. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So even in those capabilities, it's very limited. You cannot use them to track workouts or track your health in the same extent, where it be useful for you to take decisions upon your life or encourage you to do more. And see, that's what they achieved here. And what they've done with the new Apple Watches, now I want to segue into that, is they've created a product that is way ahead of all the competition. Samsung, Fitbit, and Huawei in the Chinese market. I think they have like a pretty competitive product because
I didn't even know that they had a smartwatch.
yeah, it's because of the bans, we don't have these here, so it's fine. Um, and the Apple Watch has taken over the market in North America, so to them, it's like don't even bother. It's
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
wasted money in marketing, so no one's gonna buy it. They have to manage
I
that stuff.
mean, you don't even see Samsung wear watches in the wild. You only see Apple Watch.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
Huawei is even less.
Yeah, and so what they did is they took a already excellent product, the Series 4 that you already have, and
I
made
do.
it better to the point where they're just adding insult to injury to the competition. Like they're basically
Basically.
they like, hey, Samsung, my friend, here, let me cut your skin. Schlinks. And then they like, oh, have some vinegar and salt on it.
Pouring salt into the wound.
Yes, yes. And like not just any salt, granulated like coarse kosher salt, so that
Straight out of the
it's hard to
ocean.
remove.
Sea salt.
Yes, yes. And
In big chunks.
but honestly, going in the keynote, no one expected anything drastic from the Apple Watch. People were saying, "Oh, there's nothing different. They're not gonna do anything. They're just gonna like give you new materials. That's it." And
I have an interjection.
oh yeah,
You know who wears the Huawei watches?
oh Dwayne,
Yeah.
Dwayne is a
Dwayne
heathen
wears Huawei
swine.
watches.
Dwayne is a heathen swine. He comes from a heathenistic state, California, yeah, where they have the highest rate of homelessness apparently. And so what they've done to rub it in Samsung, like they you know they have the regular spec updates, right? So the processor, they have like a system on a not a SoC, it's a package on a chip.
I think
So
they actually said though that the processor was the same as the Series 4.
no, it has minor upgrades. Minor upgrades.
But like I think like the core is the same. They just added like a
Yeah.
few
Yeah. So
extra.
they didn't invent a new processor core. They just took the existing one and refined it.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably adding, you know, the gates uh that that they put in the new A13 chips. These voltage gates that allow to allow the watch or the processor to sip more energy in a responsible way.
Yes, yes, that's amazing. What they did with the watch and the iPhone, it's incredible.
Yeah. And what they did that completely changed or blew the minds of the people, the naysayers that said that the Apple Watch is not going to be anything special this year, is they introduced a feature that everyone wanted, and the people that didn't buy the Apple Watch or didn't like it in the first place have changed their mind. Like naysayers or people say, "Oh, Apple Watch not for me," for this particular reason, which is that the screen was never always on, and now Apple has introduced this PTO display coding where the screen is always on and you get the same amount of battery life.
And what's amazing about it is that it has variable frame rates.
Yes.
So what would happen is, let's say when you're looking at your watch or when you're using it, the frame rate will go up to whatever it does, 20, 60 frames per second. But when you're not using your watch and it's just like on your wrist, let's say you're walking, the frame rate will drop down to 1.
Yep.
So
Precisely.
the only thing is that each second it'll refresh. So the time is always the time. It stays accurate, but it's barely using any energy. So that's why the battery life is the same, but they have the always on display. It's with this variable frame rate. It's amazing technology.
And Apple's marketing usually for the Apple Watch is um, 18 hours of usage. And the 18 hours of usage, they calculate it in a weird way. Basically, it boils down to 2 days of wearing the watch with moderate use. And that's true for Daniel and I. About 2 days, more or less, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how long we work out. Workout is the thing that takes the most battery, since the watch will be constantly tracking your heart rate and your activity instead of doing it intermittently every
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Yeah. Usually it does it around 8 to 15 minutes, but during a workout throughout the entire period of your workout, it'll be taking your heart rate. So let's say your workout's an hour, it'll be scanning for an hour, which takes a lot more battery life.
Yeah. So they're still advertising for the same quantity or duration of battery life, but in tests, people that like used it over the span of a few days hadn't got the same amount as the previous watch, which is fine because it still exceeds what Apple markets for. But it's still kind of disappointing that the improvement in energy gains that you got in the Series 4 are decreased in this new series of watch.
But in a way, it's sacrificed by a better feature, which isn't always on display.
Exactly.
So I would rather have less battery life and an always on display because I charge my watch every night anyways. So
yeah. And so
for me, it wouldn't make
so
a
you don't have to
difference.
do that little like movement of like flicking your wrist discreetly enough while talking to someone so that you could see the time or a notification without like alerting to the fact that you're not paying attention to what they're saying 100% and actually would like to look at the time. See, the thing about a regular watch or like a digital watch is that you could just like, glance while talking on the floor and like look at the time discreetly without like putting too much attention to it. But the thing on the Apple Watch is that the screen is turned off, right? And
Yeah.
since that is happening, just the fact of you like flicking your wrist in a certain way and the screen lighting up will grab the attention of the person you're talking to and like signaling to that person that yes, indeed, you are boring and I have something better to do, which is look at the time and my notifications.
There's nothing more disrespectful
Yeah.
than flicking your $500 computer on your wrist when you're talking to somebody in the middle of a conversation. It's so awkward. Like, sometimes I try avoiding it. Try like I don't look at the time because it's like and the thing is that's like you actually really have to flick it. So it's not just like a little turn of the wrist. It's like you really have to like you see it so the other person notices. And yeah, so I'm really happy about this always on display for Series 5 users.
But now I don't know what's more disrespectful. The fact that you are talking to someone with AirPods in your ear and that person doesn't know that the music is not working and that you could hear them perfectly, or the fact that you flick your wrist. Which one, in your opinion, seems more disrespectful? I tend to lean towards the AirPods, especially if you keep them in your ears. That's one thing. That's kind of a pet peeve I have. I like people to at least remove it from one ear, but that's me. Um, I don't know. What do you think?
You know what the most disrespectful thing is? If you have AirPods in your ears and you check your watch.
Ooh, yeah. That,
Ooh. No, but I agree that the AirPods in
uh,
the ears while you're talking to somebody is disrespectful.
if you're
Like
if
I
you're
know some
talking to
people.
someone and that person has AirPods in his ears and looks at his watch, like you know that you're doing something wrong. You gotta check. You gotta check yourself. Like
Yeah.
you gotta put yourself in a quick phase of examination, and like you have maybe like 2 3 seconds to see what you've done wrong. Because if you are that boring that person cannot bother to remove the AirPod from his ear and put it on like in his pocket or on top of his ear, like those gangsters put cigarettes on top. um, you gotta do something. Like maybe you have like something in your face that's distracting the person doesn't want to look at, or you're extremely boring, or your breath stinks. I don't know.
I don't know, but you got to
Yeah,
do a self-assessment at that point. But
exactly.
I do agree with you how having the AirPods in the ears is more disrespectful than checking your watch while you're talking because I know that the person knows that there's no music playing, but the person with the AirPods knows that there's no music playing, but the person who's talking doesn't. So
Yep,
like the person could have like for all you know he can have music and be listening to something and completely drowning you out and not care what you're saying. So I
precisely.
do find that having AirPods in your ears is a lot more disrespectful than just checking your watch while you're talking to somebody.
Yep.
Because
And
sometimes
you
I
know
do
how
tend
when
to do it
people,
because want to know the time. But yeah,
yeah, when people usually talk together, you don't keep your face completely straight. You'll tend to lean on the side or like turn in a certain direction, look at him sideways. You don't always have like this perfectly like stoic, straight like Egyptian like profile look. You know.
no,
Uh,
you don't.
no, so a sign of good faith is like maybe removing your AirPod and maybe leaning the ear that doesn't have AirPod towards that person, hiding the one in your own direction, so that the person doesn't see that you have an AirPod in the other way, and maybe he's not distracted in the conversation by the fact that you already have another headphone in the other ear. So
And
that's a pretty good way of doing it.
in my opinion, I would just find it better to remove both,
Yeah.
just to show that you actually want to listen. But
No, but
I
let's say
mean,
let's say you're talking to a person and you're on a call in the same time, like in a store. But you want to signal to the person you're talking to that I'm still listening to you, but I'm also in a call, but I'm not being disrespectful because uh, the, I'm listening to you. I'm not listening to the person in the call. So let's
yeah,
say
in that case, you would do that. Yeah, exactly.
and you're faced with
But
many situations. Like sometimes, like you're just walking around and let's say in a store, you have your AirPods in, doing some quick shopping or like doing something quickly, grabbing something, and someone asks you a question, like, "Oh, do you need help?" You're not gonna remove both AirPods. Yeah, there's
no,
because it's
no,
just a
no.
quick answer, you know. But just the fact of
Yeah,
you removing it and like, "Oh, I'm listening." Yes, pardon me. Can you repeat that? Yeah,
exactly. The fact that you remove it shows that you actually want to listen to what the person says. If you don't remove it, it's like I don't care what you're saying, even though you're probably not listening to anything, and you hear them perfectly. It gives off the look that you don't care what they're saying.
yeah, that's precisely true. And so now the Apple Watch allows us to do the same, having the screen turned on at all times. And the nice thing that when it's turned on at all times, it is not on maximum brightness. It not only has lower refresh rate, but the brightness is also reduced just enough for you to be able to like legibly see the uh, the watch face which you have selected as the default one, and to be able to read the time. Of course, it adjusts to the lighting situation. So if you're outside, it will be much brighter than if you're indoors with a dim light. And that way, it will not attract attention because for the duration of all the conversation that you had with a certain person you were talking to, your watch was lit. That person already noticed it. So you're not bringing more attention to it. That person already subconsciously knows. And just since the Apple Watch has excellent viewing angles, you could basically turn it to a very like maybe a 20 degree angle from your line of sight and be able to clearly see the time or whatever
Almost the
you want.
same way you would do with a normal watch.
Yeah. Or just maybe like do hand gestures, and within the hand gesture, while you're putting your hand down in a certain manner, like glance at the time very quickly and be able to see what time it is or whatever notification you'd like to see. I like that.
Pro moves. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
How to check the time while not being disrespectful with Daniel and Michael.
So gesticulate when you talk, you know? Yeah, learn from the Italians, you know? You gotta talk with the hands. You gotta talk with the hands.
Exactly. Use your hands when you talk and you'll be fine. You'll be able to check the time whenever you want.
Yep.
So, moving on from the Apple Watch, the next thing that was announced at the keynote was the new iPhones, the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max. Man, is that name a mouthful?
Yep. Contrary to most people, I actually don't mind the names, even though they're long and confusing. And between me and you, in our regular conversations, I did a few mistakes talking about them. But that's fine to me because those names do not offend me as much as before, where you have the XR, which the X represented a 10, but people said X. And
yes, that was very annoying.
And what was annoying is that people didn't understand what the X was. They're like, "Oh, I got the new X." Yeah, but which one? The XX, the XR? I don't know. I have to see.
Yeah, I just got the iPhone X.
Yeah, the fact that they changed the name to the 11, now people know. Oh, it's not just the X; it's a number.
Yes.
Okay, and then because there's been a paradigm shift. Forever, iPhone was like iPhone, iPhone 2G, iPhone 3, iPhone 3GS, iPhone 4, iPhone 4S, and people were used to it. Like you'd ask anyone on the street, "What's the next iPhone?" Oh, the next iPhone is gonna be the iPhone 12. And the year after that, what's the new iPhone? What's gonna be the new iPhone called? Oh, it's gonna be the iPhone 12s. You know,
exactly.
People
because they were following a pattern for so many years.
And then people then they changed it, so people got confused. People that are non-tech savvy don't like browse Apple's website for fun like we do. They're like, "Oh, what on earth is that? It's the X. Why did they change it? It's so confusing. I don't like it." So they forgot what it was. And then some people are like, "Oh, I bought the X5. X5? No, it's XS. What are you talking about?"
People said X5?
I heard it once.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, like some.
Wow.
I think Apple makes it pretty clear it's an S, but some people, depending on some people have weird eyes.
They're thinking about a car.
Yeah, like Vitici.
You know, the BMW X5? That's what they're thinking about.
Like Vitici, he thought that the germ emoji, bacteria emoji, and was a weird fish.
Oh,
yeah. Wow. So he's one. Vitici is one of those weird eyes people.
One of those damn weird eyes.
Yeah, buddy.
You know who else is a weird eye? Dwayne.
Yeah.
But now there's there was some controversy over the look of the new iPhone 11 Pro. What do you personally think about it?
It boils down to the stages of grief. People are not used to it yet. In 5 months, people will be like, "Oh, it's normal," because every other phone will look like this. Literally. Every single phone. Like already, the Pixel is coming out. Pixel looks like that.
Yeah, the Pixel is going to have that square.
Yeah.
But the thing is that a lot of phones like Samsung and Huawei and OnePlus, they already have their triple camera set up already on existing phones. So you think they would change it to look like the iPhone from what they have already?
Not necessarily, because Samsung, like, they used to copy iPhone a lot more. Not so much anymore. They copy them more in software now than hardware. They have their own identity in hardware and
UI.
in user interface, yeah, and features in the software. But even then, uh, what what Samsung does is kind of irrelevant, especially now that we found out that the Note line was going to be discontinued and integrated in the S line. So basically,
Really?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
yeah, John Rettinger. Next Samsung event, there's going to be the S11, if I'm not mistaken, and then
Yeah,
the S11 Pro, uh, and then the S11 Max or Plus, which one it is? Not Plus,
I think it's plus.
Plus,
I
and
think it's the iPhone 11 and sorry, no, it's the Galaxy 10 and the Galaxy 10 Plus
yeah, and then they're going to do the
or whatever it's
Galaxy,
called.
the Galaxy S11 Note. Going to be under badge. So they're going to stop doing the times of year release. They're all going to release the phones at the same time, and that way they provide more direction for the market, so they don't have to be confused. People don't have to do choices and compromises on two different
Like
periods because their
even
phones are released at different times.
like in a way it when you release phones every 6 months, it always like causes a buyer's remorse. Like
Yeah,
you just spent $1,000 on the new Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, and then after the Note 10 Plus comes out, and you're like, oh man, I should, like 6 months later the Note 10 comes out, and you're like, oh, I should have got that. Then like the people who get the Note 10, like another 6 months later the S11 comes out, and they're like, oh, I should have got this. Like, and because they come out so close, like it's 6 months difference, it's always causing buyer's remorse. Whereas I find even a year almost causes buyer's remorse. Like, but I mean, 6 months is even worse. OnePlus does the same thing. Every 6 months they come out with a new phone, which I don't agree with
that is
personally.
that is entirely true. And so, um, you know, the phone is an acquired taste. Every new phone is a new design, or every new paradigm shift in design on a phone should be is acquired. It depends how conservative you are in design. If you're a person that likes everything to stay the same, or if you're a person that likes stuff to change drastically every single time, you you'll never be able to please both. Apple tries to balance both while like to please both people to keep the phone appearance similar enough so that they stay true to their brand identity, their design identity, that it still looks like an iPhone, that you know it's an iPhone, but all the while varying the look into resembling something that is newer, but not necessarily something that is too new that it doesn't look like an iPhone. You know what I mean? They
Yes,
have to strike
exactly.
that right balance where you look at the iPhone, you're like, oh, it's an iPhone. Even if you don't see the Apple logo, you know it's an iPhone. Why? Because
Exactly.
it always has the camera in the corner. It always has a LED flash that has like different colors in the LED flash. It has no text on the phone or very
Yeah.
minimal text. Um,
Well, now with the new ones, they has no text at all.
exactly. Um,
Or what about the front, the notch, or previous phones, the home button?
exactly. The home button, the notch. What else? The home screen always stays look the same. Like the same functionality look the same. There's no weird ways of unlocking your phone. It's always
No.
swipe. Swipe.
Yes.
It used to be
It's always
swipe from
swiping.
swipe right to left or left to right. I forgot which one it was. Now it's swipe up. All the same. And so it's this consistency. So if I summarize the Apple event, it is the same stuff that we had with improvement. And I want to start by mentioning the things that impressed me the most. Maybe maybe I'll start. You could follow. Uh,
Sure.
what I was largely impressed. Uh, I'll preface that with the fact that this keynote was a very literally was like maybe not focused at all at the specifications, but more at the functionalities. So how do these new technologies, hardware technologies, apply into uses? They focused a lot on that. So they didn't talk about how good the processors are as much as they did in the past. They focused on what it was able to do, and they did that to great success, in my opinion. And that what I liked, uh, what I liked in the presentation that was a reflection of this new way of presenting their products that they haven't done in the past is the camera app. Now, and they talked about a lot of stuff, the camera app. So I'm going to focus on one in particular. It's the transition between uh, the three cameras. So uh, people are complaining that, oh, the three cameras are placed in a triangle. It looks ugly. Why couldn't they put it in a square with their flash? That's because the cameras have to be exactly the same distance between each other, so that the picture does not shift when you're zooming in. I went in the Apple Store today to see the new phones. By the way,
Oh,
FYI,
they're amazing.
yeah,
They're amazing.
I used it. I used the zoom feature. The way zooming on iPhone works is you have underneath the record button, sorry, on top of the record button, a times symbol, like
Yes.
times one, times two, times three, and you press on it, and then you swipe it either to the right or the left as if it was a dial. So depending on the direction, you zoom in or zoom out. Now, the nice thing about the new iPhone is it will show you uh, what it will show you three dials that you could swipe in between with one gesture of your hand. And depending on which direction, you could either zoom out, making a wide angle picture, making everything look bigger. So uh, so you could capture a larger angle of the image, and so you could take pictures in smaller, tighter areas, um, uh, group pictures in a very small room,
Yeah.
with ease without having to take a panel or a cropping. And if you go to the middle one, it's the regular camera mode. It looks fantastic, has excellent quality. And then there's the telephoto, which zooms up to 10 times. So um, and so I zoomed up to 10 times. I look at the under I'm in the middle of the store. I look at the other end of the wall. I could focus on the face of a person. The camera detects that it is a person. It is crystal clear. Um, there's no smudginess, no lag, no blurriness. I found it pretty impressive. And the nice thing is that when you're switching between cameras, it does not blink to the screen or like stop one angle and goes into another. No, it transitions smoothly. The
Yes, you can't even
cameras
tell.
are color calibrated because they're three different cameras. So they perceive light in a different way, but they've been calibrated to see light in your environment and match them on all three cameras actively. So it's constantly matching the colors on all the three cameras and trying to get the closest approximation so that when you're switching between the modes, you don't have different colors, different shadings, different textures. It's all the same. It transitions smoothly as if it was one lens, but actually there's three. And I
And I
find this highly impressive. And just to add one last thing, uh, usually on a phone, you don't uh, you don't see um, uh, there's black bezels on top and the bottom in the camera app because the camera basically takes only such a wide picture that it's not enough to fill the whole screen, right?
yes.
And unless if you're taking a panel, that always applies. And the nice thing is what they did is instead of putting black bezels on top and in the bottom, they decided to put like this faded gray on top and the bottom when you're in the number one mode, the regular camera mode. And what the faded gray on top and at the bottom of the bezel will show you is what it will look like if you were to switch in wide angle. In a live manner, it is showing you that if you switch to wide angle mode, you could see what it would look like before doing it. So let's say you're taking a regular picture and you decide you could just like see the bezels and like, oh, if I were to switch it, it will look way better. And this is incredible because I never spoke about this, but when I was on vacation, I was in this place called the Holy Land Experience, and a certain person asked me to take a picture with their S10, and the S10 has those wide angle camera, right?
Yes,
Now
it
I don't
does.
know how to use the S10, especially that it is like this most undiscoverable user interface. So what I had the screen filled up with the image. I like literally the image of the camera filled the whole screen. I would take the picture of this couple. The problem is when the picture would come out, their faces were cropped because when you took the picture, it did not take the whole picture and the whole screen. It took part of it.
What?
So the user interface is confusing you and deceiving you by telling you that if you take a picture, you will get what you see, but you don't. You don't get what you see.
Well, that's weird.
That is such
It's
unintuitive.
horrible.
And now when I saw what Apple did by putting this grayed out area on the bottom and the top, showing you what you could get if you were to switch into mode, I said, yes, that is how you do it. Because people don't know that you don't get these areas in the bottom and the top, unless if you switch to mode. If you switch to wide angle, these green things, these gray things disappear. They become a clear image. And that's how you do it.
And another thing that's really nice about that is it only gives you that grayed out part that you would see with the wider angle if you're looking at, like, let's say a landscape or a wider area. If you focus the phone in, you're just using the wide lens, not the wide angle one, like the ultra wide, and you just focus in on one object, that grayed out area will disappear and it will become black bezel again.
Yep.
Because it knows that because you're focusing in on one object, you're not going to use the ultra wide lens. So it removes those bezels using AI, which I find is such a nice feature.
Not just AI, because now that I have 3 cameras, it could approximate distance in a way
Yes.
that you cannot do with two or one camera. So just the fact that you have 3 cameras, you could process the information coming from those 3 cameras and doing like this mathematical stuff. You could approximate. Okay, so my subject is 1 meter away, and the phone knows how to adjust. Like if you're taking a picture 1 meter away, you're probably taking a picture of something up close. You don't want a wide angle, because wide angles distort things from up close. If you take a selfie with wide angle, which most Androids phone have, it'll make you look stupid because you'll have a nose clown or a clown noise
Yeah.
nose.
For real, you will.
It'll make your nose look disproportionately big compared to your face, because in close proximities, wide angle no work.
No. And another really cool feature that they added to the camera is night mode. And this
Is that your favorite feature?
personally, that is my favorite feature that they added to the camera, because it brings your night shots to life. And what I really like about the night mode in the iPhone is, compared to competitors like Samsung and Google, up till now, people were saying that the Pixel 3 had the best night sight on any smartphone, what they called it night sight. And they say that it had just the best image processing at night. But the thing is what the Pixel does is that it takes that picture that you took at night and it makes it look as if it was taken in the day. So it brightens everything up, it removes shadows, and it tries its best to make it look as if you took the picture in broad daylight. But what the iPhone does is it brightens up the photo, but it still gives it that night look, and you could tell that the photo was taken at night.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
there are some photos taken, like I've watched a few reviews like where they compare the night sight versus the night mode on the iPhone, and there's some pictures that are taken on the Pixel and it's incredible. The photo looks like it's taken during the day. But on the iPhone, it looks like it was taken at night. But why would, if you're taking that picture at night or taking a scenery, why would you want it to look like it was taken in the day? You would want it to look, you want it to have a bit of that darker look. And I just find that feature really incredible. And I find that that's like the coolest feature out of the camera. I find that's even cooler than the ultra wide.
I agree.
Is the night mode. Because it just brightens up your night photos and makes them look so much better.
And I saw Tyler Stallman's video on the iPhone. He got an early access, so Apple gave him a early access unit. Went around New York taking pictures at night. You know, they have all these neon lights and Broadway. The way I describe it is, it's taking a picture, and the picture comes out as you see it with your eyes. It does not look different from what you see, and that's what I like. When I take a picture at night, so far, I haven't been able to get what I'm seeing with my eyes. It's always darker on my phone. What this mode does is it captures what you see with your eyes without making the picture look different. And the way you could tell is, take a picture of the sky in the night. Does the sky look light blue, or does it look dark blue like it is usually? Can you see the stars, or can't you see the stars? See, this thing about the Pixel is it does everything post processing. So you take the picture, you cannot look at it only after a while. After it has done all the processing and everything. And the funny thing is, if you take a picture of the sky, you will never see the stars. With the
Really?
iPhone, you will see the stars, and I like that. Also, a mode of a feature about night mode. It will tell you how long you have to stay to capture the picture. So when you click on the picture, by the way, night mode is enabled automatically. There's no button you have to press. The iPhone will actively detect a dark room and compare the picture that will be taken with and without dark mode in in before even you take the picture, and will do a executive decision. Okay, it will decide for you that, okay, it is better in this instance to take a picture with night mode enabled than without it, and it does this work that you don't have to deal with, right?
Yes, it does.
And when you press the button um, for the shutter, it will give you a timer, varying between 1 and 3 seconds most times, and it will capture all the light during those moments, creating a composite picture, capturing maybe 100 pictures from with the camera, combining them, enhancing the light quality because the picture is a longer exposure. And the nice thing about it is, you'd think that since you're taking such a long picture, that the subject, if that is moving in the picture, will look blurry. Actually, no, because the picture took one of those 100 pictures that the camera took during those 2 seconds, 3 seconds, is the picture of the subject. And then in the other pictures, it only picks up the dark parts, which are the ones that don't move. Usually, the subjects are the illuminated
Yes,
ones. So recreating the environment that you're in processing to make it look exactly like what it is. It is actually an insanely well done process. Like I'm like astonished at the results you could achieve with this.
it is. Reviewers are saying that the iPhone camera is the best camera for video and photo on a smartphone right
Mm.
now.
And they made it even smarter by enabling a feature that if the phone detects that it is on a tripod by the manner that there's no movement in the gyroscope, the camera is still. It will take even longer exposure. So you could take a picture of the sky and see even more stars than usual because you're going to be sucking in more light. And that's nice. You saw one of those
They're
pictures.
becoming professional cameras over here. What's the point of walking around with a DSLR at this
I
point?
know. And that harkens back to our conversation from the other day. Like, you could either buy the greatest phone that you want if you're going to use these features, all of them, or you could just buy a regular phone, the cheaper ones, or the models from last years, if you just use phone, text, and Facebook, and then buy a real camera
Yeah,
for like more precise stuff. And because more and more phones are not just like phone call devices and text message;
yeah. They're no longer
they're
phones.
portable
They're
computers.
computers. They're
Yeah.
portable. They're small computers that you're putting in your pocket.
If you buy
Now,
a 11 Max, 11 Pro Max, and you don't use it for work, you just take a few pictures, browse Instagram, you're wasting $1,500.
you
Like,
are. You are.
literally.
That is, it's a huge waste. Now there are a few things that we have to go through about the new iPhone. One thing that I really like personally is the new matte finish on the back. So what they did is they frosted the back glass of the iPhone, so it has a matte finish. I did also. I love the feeling. They
Mm.
say, well, it's a little bit more slippery in your hands, so I guess if you're not using a case, it has more chance of falling out of your hands. Because what happens is when it's just solid glass, your sweat and the grease from your fingers tend to grip onto the glass. Whereas because this is all like little bumps, little ridges in the glass, it you don't have that grip and it tends to slide more. But I it, I know it's almost intuitive thinking that it'll be more grippy because the ridges catch in, like let's say with your fingerprint, but it's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
But I really like the feeling. I love the way it looks. And I think that they should have done the 11 with the matte. I'm sad they didn't. But
You know, they gotta convince the consumers to buy the more expensive one somehow.
yeah,
You know,
so
and MKBHD is gonna buy the matte one for sure. So
for sure.
they had to make it the pro.
Yeah.
I actually felt it as well, and it reminded me of the eighth generation, no, the sixth generation iPod Touch,
Oh,
where it's like the aluminum finish, but not quite like the iPhone 6s.
no. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It feels like aluminum, but not quite.
Yeah, like the iPod Touches had like a very weird anodization process that was not like the iPhones. The iPhones was like smoother. The iPod Touches had like this kind of matte finish feeling, and and I looked at the midnight green, and in pictures it looks more green.
It does.
I saw it on store.
In real
It's
life,
almost a
it
gray
almost looks the
with a
same.
hint of like dark green on it,
Yeah.
and it looks really good. I didn't like it at first. I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's not for me. But then when I saw it in real life, I'm like, man, this looks clean. It's almost like a space gray, but like someone by accident dropped like a drop of green in the pigment.
Yeah,
And we're like,
that's what it
oops. And then
is.
Apple was like, oh, actually, I like this. Johnny Ive was like, thumbs up. And me
And
likey.
another crazy thing about the iPhone is that the iPhone 11 Pro has 4 hours more battery life than the iPhone 10s, and the iPhone 11 Pro Max has 5 hours more battery life than the iPhone 10s Max. Now, this is incredible that they're able to do this. Like, usually you see phones that they get 1 hour more or 2 hours more battery life max per year per release cycle, but that they managed to fit in 4 and 5 hours more battery life is insane. And the way they did it is that, like we mentioned before about the Apple Watch, that they made the processor a lot more efficient. Like in the iPhone 11, it has 1 hour more battery life than the 10R, but they didn't change the size of the battery at all in the 11. The 11
Yep.
has it's basically the same body as the 10R, just it has two cameras on the back and it has the A13 processor instead of the A12. And they were able to get an extra hour of battery life just by processor enhancements. But in the 11 and in the 11 Pro and the 11 Pro Max, they were able to add a bigger battery, and with the enhancements of the processor, they were able to get 4 and 5 hours more battery life, which to me I find incredible. When I heard that, I'm like, what? You just added 4 and 5 hours more battery life? That's like, it's incredible. That's more than that's like, what they added is more than what I get out of a day. And I just find this, I
Yeah,
find this like an incredible leap in battery life, and it's something that no other phone company has ever done before,
exactly. That's the single greatest leap in battery life improvement ever done.
ever in the history of smartphones.
What? I think they tested the market on the 11 on the 10R, where they made the phone thicker and were like observing to see if like anyone would like complain. And when they realized that people didn't care about the devices being thin, which they started doing since the iPhone 6s, making their phone thicker, um, they they slowly been like training us into making our phones thicker, and the market reacted positively toward it because now that Apple realized that thickness isn't everything, as long as it's not a brick like that Energizer phone with like half an inch thick phone because of the battery, and even then, like
I think it was like 3 inches wide, the thing.
it's like literally a
Huge,
brick. It's
huge.
literally like a stone brick,
Yeah, it
clay
was
brick.
ginormous. You guys have to look it up. Just look up an Energizer phone, you'll see it.
You know what they do? You take some clay, you put it in the mold, and then you put a Nokia and you sink it in. There
Yeah.
you go.
And
You
there
have
you
an
go. You can
Energizer.
build your house out of Energizer phones.
Yeah, Dwayne did that.
He did. His house is built out of Energizer Nokias.
Yeah, such an elitist. He
Can't
doesn't
believe
know
him.
that batteries burn
No, no. That's why
furiously to
he
that to
hasn't
that.
he hasn't turned on his stove yet since he built the house. He always eats out. Dwayne
Such a
always eats out.
heathen. Yep. And another feature that has been implemented on the phones is the greatest feature of all. I actually kept it for last because this feature is world changing. Like, no feature has been seen in any device to that extent that has such a great impact on humanity and could benefit us all. And that feature is slow fees.
Yes,
You weren't expect.
Slofi.
You weren't expecting.
No.
Nah, I'm just kidding. That is the greatest gimmick of all time. It's basically selfie and slow motion at the same time. So if you want to do those like anime, like with hair, like a blow dryer in my hair, and like slow motion action, or if you have like very chubby cheeks and you want to do like the whatever.
Well, you know what
Yeah.
else is a good thing is that in the Pro models, at least, they made it's still IP68 rated, but instead of 2 meters, it's 4 meters for half an
Yep.
hour underwater. So what I'm getting to is that with the slow fee option, you could now use your phone as a GoPro and use the slow fee camera to jump into your pool while recording yourself using your front facing camera in slow motion going into the water. And now that's
You're
the
onto
best
something.
use case for the slow fee camera.
You're onto something, dude.
That's
You're
it.
onto something.
That's why they did it. Tim Cook, man. He's
Yeah,
jumping
yeah.
in that pool with that slow fee, man.
Now, brother, this is what I call innovation.
That's innovation. Now you can use your phone as a GoPro and get slow motion as you're jumping in
yep.
water.
No, seriously. I don't see what it is for precisely, but whatever. But on the bright side, to be able to have slow fees, they improve the camera from 8 megapixels, 7 megapixels to 12.
I think so.
Now
Yeah,
you could,
I think all of their cameras, they brought them up
Yeah.
to 12,
yeah. So now you could record 4K at 60 frames per second with a selfie camera,
which is incredible.
and yeah, so you're no longer limited to 1080p
Perfect for vloggers.
or
And-
just like regular video. So like Vanky, enjoy.
Yeah.
Shout out to
And
Vanky.
a little thing about shout out to Vanky, subscribe. And a little thing about the front facing cameras, now they made it a little bit wider, and there's actually a little toggle button at the bottom right above the shutter button that you could get a little bit of a wider image and you could fit more of your friends in them selfies.
Yep.
Which is it's a cool feature. I mean, Google had to go and add a second lens in that ginormous ugly notch that they had in their Pixel 3 XL. But instead,
May I
Apple
just say
just
that
makes
it is not just ugly, but profusely ugly.
yes,
Like ugly beyond measure.
hideous. Like my eyes start bleeding when I look at it. And you know who uses one of those? Dwayne. But Apple, instead
Shame
of
on you,
creating...
Dwayne. You use Apple Watch with a Pixel. Really?
Yeah.
What's that?
What
He's
a
a
guy.
monster, man.
What
He's
a guy.
monster.
But instead of having to add another ugly lens in the front, in the notch, what they did is they just made the existing lens a little bit wider and crop out that extra widened part of the image. And if you want to get it, you can access it. So Apple always does the best way. That's it.
Yeah. Another nice thing is it's not very significant, but it's a minor improvement in the sector of screen brightness. So now the iPhone has a peak brightness of 1,000 something nits
200.
and 1,200.
But usually, like it's at 800. But during certain
But
circumstances,
it could peak
it'll peak at
It will not
1,200
sustain it
nits.
constantly, but let's say
No.
Your screen could behave as a screen flash since you don't have a flash on the front. So for a split second, it could probably use that screen as
sure.
as a flash, which is incredibly, by the way, incredibly bright.
For a phone is insane. That's more than a computer.
Yeah.
And also another thing is, well, like its normal brightness is 800, which is better than the 10s, which was at 600, and now it goes up to 8, and during certain circumstances, 1,200.
Yep. And now there's surround directional speaker audio.
Now, I have a
So
question about that. Is that only on the Pro or is it also on the 11? The spatial
I'm
audio.
not sure. What it does, it basically puts your phone in portrait mode, makes the sound feel even more stereo than before, giving depth, height, and length to audio. So you could maybe track it in space. So if you have it, I think the recommended distance it's 1.5 feet from your face to get optimal results. You're holding the phone 1.5 feet from your face and watching content that is compatible with that technology. You will be able to place in space around you the direction from the sound. So, say you're listening to an orchestra, you'll be able to discern that the violins are to your left, and that the drums are to your right, and that the flutes are right in front of you. So it will give you like that spatial awareness, which is very nice, actually.
That is an insane feature,
Mhm.
which will
Imagine
serve many
they get it
people
wrong
well.
and they split the direction by accident. Instead of setting the violin to the right and the drums to the left, they flip it. So when you're watching the video, you see the violins on the right, but you hear it on the left.
That would be funny. Like, oh no, we messed up our spatial audio feature.
Yeah.
No.
It's like there's like seasickness or motion sickness, and now there's audio sickness.
Live update. I just checked it out, and the iPhone 11 does have spatial audio and Dolby Atmos.
That's great.
So,
Another remarkable feature is that the iPhone 11 is now cheaper, and
yes, by $50 US.
That being said, the iPhone 11 is the greatest phone of all time, closely followed by the 11 Pro.
Yes,
Pro
the
Max.
iPhone 11 is the phone to buy. If you
Value-wise?
buy the iPhone 11 Pro, you're a heathen.
And you could also buy the 10R, which is also a great value, and now it is $100 cheaper, if not more.
Which is amazing. Because the iPhone 10R is the iPhone 11 without the ultra wide lens and with a A12 instead of A13 processor.
You're not
basically
losing
the
much.
same
Like,
thing.
I'd say that if you do have $100 to spend it is well spent. But if you're tight on cash, you want to spare every single dollar, but to get the biggest bang for your buck and keep your device for the foreseeable future.
10R.
To Daniel's point, exactly, the 10R is the greatest choice you want. And if you literally just want to do phone calls and answer text messages, the iPhone 8.
iPhone 8. That's it. If you're just making phone calls and text messages, iPhone 8. And on that note, all you iPhone 8 buyers, I think it's time that we end the episode.
Yeah. And we end the episode. So we'd like to thank you for listening through. Our podcast will now be on a occasional basis. So stay tuned and keep looking in your podcast app of choice to see whether we posted. And we will also be notifying you on our social media accounts, so that you may be able to know whenever we post. And
never miss a moment.
That will be it will be maybe at least once a month. We'll try. Now that we're back in school and in work, and we're like in the thick of it now.
Yes.
And hopefully in the foreseeable future, when also on your plates, which is the summertime, we'll be posting more often. And courtesy of this new paradigm shift, our episodes will now be longer. So just listen to part of it, pause it, and come back to it later. You don't have to listen to one shot. And so you could enjoy it in spurs, maybe rewinding for context. That being said, we'd like to thank you very much for sticking through the end. We'd like to invite you to follow us on Facebook. Our Facebook has changed content-wise. We'll still give you updates on our podcast, but we have dedicated it to news sharing. So if you like to follow tech news that we deem important and curated by us, go follow us on Facebook. Our Instagram is mainly dedicated to the updates, the usual updates, the same updates as the Facebook account, but with Apple
memes.
Yeah, Apple or technology centered memes. And lastly, the Twitter are just the same updates as the the Facebook and the Instagram, but with random ponderings, thoughts, comments, and retweets. So if you're into that, much obliged. If you have any criticisms or recommendations or any comments, just email us at thewaypodcast@gmail.com. Or you could just direct message us on any of the platform that we're on. We'd like to thank you for listening and support us with a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast, and share the podcast with your friends, family. And we'd like to thank you for listening. Bye bye.
Arrivederci.